Hey, look at that nice view to the Wrigley building. Let's get the camera straight here. So, hey, welcome to Chicago. Welcome to Lake Michigan. Hey, here's our friend with the basketball here. We usually see him. How you doing there? Nice to see you again. How you doing? Yeah, thanks for saying hello. That's great. What's your name? What's your name? What's your name? He's got the headphones in, so we see that guy all the time, spinning the ball, heading up to Oak Street Beach there. And Chris, how you doing? Thanks for tuning in there. Yeah, welcome to Chicago. We got mid-80s, and here we go. Let me get the right date here. There, August the 11th, Monday, August the 11th, 2025. Here we are at the Nutella. We got summer lines here, even on a Monday. Hey, yeah, let's head over to the Bean. We'll do our routine. We got the Air and Water show later this week, and maybe even on Thursday we might start seeing planes. It's gonna get hot, you know. I'm thinking about taking off Friday, or at least the afternoon, because Friday might be the best weather day. Hey, Zoom Patrol, thanks for tuning in from Seattle. That's great. I think we've talked about it before. I'm sure you probably ran across Major Hustler Tim. Is he still streaming there in Seattle? He is such a huge live streamer there in Seattle. He's always on a scooter. But here, yeah, we're on Michigan Avenue here. Look at this density. See how they added floors to the top of that building. They did that after Millennium Park. Hey, the Garrett's Popcorn. So, yeah, of course, we missed it. The union was on strike here. They had the rat out here last week, but I missed that. But here, we'll head across Roosevelt. Here's the Garrett Popcorn truck delivering. Yeah, there's a Garrett's Popcorn right on this block here. Pete, how you doing there? Hazlitt, Michigan. Thanks for tuning in, Pete. Appreciate it. Yeah, let's get across the street here. I'm always rushing to get across the street here. It's pretty hot. 85. It's a little bit, it's more humid, noticeably more humid this whole weekend it was. The air's changed. So our air quality's better. That's the positive of the warmer air pushing from the south. We're not getting the cool air from the Canadian wildfires here, but here, we'll head across here. He's waving the cars on there. There's the tree experts there to talk to Bartlett. Landscapers, there's the Pittsfield building. But hey, we'll just head by the Bean. We'll go into the loop. We'll probably end up in the Riverwalk, nothing big. We do this walk all the time. I think there's DJs at Daley Plaza. And we'll just see what's happening in the loop since I'm working in the office today. We did the Bud Billiken Parade. See, I posted some more reruns to TikTok. Of course, you can watch the full. I guess that bus is in the way there. The CTA bus doesn't like the Midwest bus blocking its route there. It's funny. Here, let's check out the colonnade. We might get lucky. There might be the symphony might be practicing in the band shell. I'm not for sure. So how you doing? So here, look at the beautiful flowers here in front of the cultural center here. And yeah, we'll head right through here. We'll head over to the Bean here. So this is the United States of America, Chicago. Have you heard of Chicago? You've never heard of Chicago? Have you heard of the United States of America? Thanks for tuning in here. Appreciate it. I know. Thanks for tuning in from all over the world here. What country are you tuning in from? That's good. Thanks for tuning in there. Appreciate it. There's the Aon. See how it looks like the former World Trade Center. These are the Prudential buildings in Chicago, Randolph Street, Michigan Avenue. This is the Central Business District, the Centro. And we're going to head up to the Bean, Cloud Gate, Millennium Park. This is within Grant Park. We have 85 degrees. What is that? About 25 Celsius. Were we up to 30? I don't know. But we got a nice summer day here. South Korea, how you doing there? Thanks for tuning in. That's great. Yeah, huge buildings. Well, you got some huge buildings in Seoul. South Korea is a beautiful country there. Thanks for tuning in there. Yeah. So yeah, we're in Grant Park, which is Millennium Park's within Grant Park. It's a section of it. They built all this stuff about 20 years ago. There's people taking pictures here. People like to take pictures here with this nice view looking down Washington Street. Here's the Bean, there's Cloud Gate. Anish Kapoor is the artist here. Let's go check it out. Trinidad. Sandy, thanks for tuning in there. Frank's tuning in from Germany. Thanks, Frank. Thanks for tuning in there. Indonesia's tuning in. That is great. Yeah, the Magic Bean. Brazil, that's great. Thanks everybody for tuning in. And sorry if I missed it. There's some of the comments. You know, I'm not looking at the screen all the time here. Amazon rainforest. Yeah, I remember you Brazil Marines. You've watched before. Thanks for tuning in from the rainforest there. Beautiful Amazonian rainforest of South America there, Brazil. Hey, Christy, how you doing there? Chatal, yeah, Hussein. How you doing there? So, hey, look at the, the Great Bean of Chicago, Cloud Gate. It's looking nice in the sun there. Got the umbrella. Yeah, 85 degrees in Chicago, United States of America. Chicago is in Illinois, the state of Illinois, land of Lincoln. This is the Bean, the Cloud Gate sculpture in Millennium Park here. A lot of people in the shade, a lot of people underneath. That's great. Doghouse, lemonade stand. Yeah, that used to be Montgomery Ward's. There's the Willoughby Tower. There was hat makers with offices in there. Look at these amazing vintage skyscrapers and commercial buildings here. There's the Bean of Chicago. So here we'll quickly see if there's any band practice going on. I'll be able to tell because when it's this hot, maybe they might be practicing in air conditioning and not on the stage, and we'll be able to tell. It doesn't look like the prep because I don't see anybody on the lawn there, but you never know. We'll quickly take a peep. I'll be able to tell once we get around this tent if the well, they got it open. It says Broadway in Chicago summer concert in Millennium Park. There are a few people on stage. Yeah, they might be practicing. I see a band there. So we'll stick around here for a second because when it's hot in the summertime and I'm working in the office, if they're practicing, yeah, let's see. Yeah, they're practicing here. So here, if they had the seats open, I would run down there and sit in the shade, but they got them blocked off there. I guess they don't want people down there, but they're practicing for Broadway in Chicago here, summer concert at Millennium Park here. So at least we got a little bit of it here. Yeah, this is the Pritzker Band show here, Millennium Park, Chicago. Sometimes we see Grant Park Orchestra there, practicing there. Hey Christy, how you doing there? Yeah, Michael Anderson there. So, terrible times. I'm going to engage with you. I'm going to give you one chance here to not get permanently blocked. Can you just simply watch and enjoy these people, you know, enjoying the bean? And if you want to, you know, attack me or attack my moderators, we will block you. You know, I don't know what your point is, just to like tear things apart. You know, like we don't get like thousands of people every day just like bashing whatever I'm streaming here, and we can make it so you can bash something else here. So thanks for tuning in here. And here, let me go down to the yeah. Well, if you just tuned in, what's your problem? Are you having a bad day? You know, or you want us to like coddle your ego here? You know, it's why can't you play well with others? I guess you're part of society here. We gotta just tolerate your opinions. Hey, how you doing there? Cheese Cannabis, yeah, how you doing there? Since we're on YouTube, I can say that. How you doing there? That's the bean. Say cheese. So, yeah, so if my lens is dirty here, we'll give it a chance here, but if not, we'll keep on going here because there's really not much I can do about it now. So it was clear this morning when I was on TikTok. Maybe it's YouTube, but hey, I like YouTube at lunch here. We'll keep on going. We'll show you the flowers here. And you got eyes? Okay, so so terrible times. What should we do in Chicago to make you feel better about Chicago? Because, you know, give us some recommendations instead of just being negative. So, you know, what would you do if you ran Chicago? If you were mayor of Chicago, I want to know. Terrible times. If you were mayor of Chicago, what would you do to make this city better so more people? Because it seems like people. See, look, there's families and kids here enjoying the fountain here. There's the transit's working, the buses are working. Yes, we got crime because we're in America. The rest of America has crime. You know, I'm sure there's crime where you live. You know, we don't sit there and just bash where you're at because you got crime. Anita, how you doing there? Thanks for tuning in there. Yeah, that's thanks. Yeah, we're just walking through the city here. You know, I think it's just I understand. I'm empathetic. It's easier to say something negative than positive. I'm the same way. I complain all the time. You know, and thanks for people on this channel, others letting me vent, because I do complain my share as well. I am a man after all. A flawed man. Here's hey, look, there's the top of the jeweler's building. Here, we'll see how we can look back to there's the let's see here. Okay, good. So we convinced Terrible Times to leave on his own. We didn't even have to block him. So I think he's getting bored with taunting us. So good. He just, you know, pretty much said I'm an idiot. So thank you. Thanks. He said it very politely. So, or he or she or whoever they are. So here, we'll keep on going there. Yeah, happy Monday. It's a manic Monday here. So we're crossing Michigan Avenue, and we're gonna head through the loop here. But of course, he left without giving us any answers or any suggestions for how to improve ourselves. So there you go. Thanks, Michael. Thanks, Michael. See, isn't that great? And he said he was going to leave anyway, which is funny. So, you know, it's probably good. You know, you teach people how to treat you. Somebody comes up and slaps you in the face the first time, they're like, oh, I didn't mean to do that. You're like, okay, well, you know, I'll be very careful the next time you approach me. Here, paisanos, Garland and Madison here. How you doing? How you doing?
Can you let me get some chicken? I'm hungry.
No, I'm just heading through the live stream. I appreciate it. Thank you.
You buy me chicken.
No, I'm sorry. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it. That's good. That's good. I'm not a tourist. I live here. He thinks I'm a tourist. I just filmed the Bud Billiken parade, so he's not going to guilt me that I'm like, you know, someone asked me to give him money, and he thinks I'm live streaming. He's going to guilt me into it. I was going to ask him for money. He looks more well-dressed than I am. Here's the Diamond Center here. He looked me right in the eye, and I looked him right in the eye and said, nope, appreciate it, thanks a lot, appreciate it, thanks for playing the game here. Here's the, here we're under Wabash. It's probably because I'm wearing a Cubs hat. If I was wearing a Sox hat, he might have cut me more slack. The Cubs lost to St. Louis. He smelled that Raising Cane's. Yeah, the Cane's smelled great. We were walking by. Yeah, I'm sure he'll find somebody else to give him some money for lunch there. I appreciate that. See, look, in Trump's America, people are going hungry. So imagine that. Did you see? The president wants to call out the National Guard. And, you know, I understand Washington, D.C. has a unique situation with the overlapping jurisdictions, and it's not a state. But then he's actually calling out the national. There's going to be an experiment to see if they can use the National Guard to police probably Chicago and New York. That would be interesting. And you notice I'm not weighing in too much because this is all speculation now. So I just saw that flash across the wire. So here, look at the beautiful wrought iron detailing of, this is the Gothic Target. This used to be Carson Prairie Scott. Look at that amazing detail there. And look even up there. And yeah, it's starting to heat up. I mean, I saw some 90s maybe later this week in the forecast here. We'll try to get across the street here before the light changes. So here's looking north on State Street. There's the Chicago Theater. And there's you can see Carson Prairie Scott there. Now it's the Gothic Target. So Louis Sullivan has his masterpiece here. They call it the Sullivan Center. You see how you can look up to the Chicago Theater. So here, let's head over towards Big City Optical. Here's the this is the Reliance building, and it's one of the early vintage skyscrapers here on this is Madison Street. That was Madison and State. Madison State at one time was considered the most congested intersection, like 125 years ago, around the turn of the century, with all the trolleys and rail lines that converged here. Yeah, you have to talk to Kevin about the Tigers there. I think the Tigers are doing better than the Cubs. Yeah, we're walking towards Daley. I guess they got DJs, right? They got DJs today. They got some flag raising and stuff later today. And here we'll go by. Here's the Chase building here. They're working on the where the Chagall statue is there. Okay, so we'll just cruise by Daley Plaza to see if anything's going on. How you doing there, doggies? There? Here's Sweet Green. Yeah, this is an interesting building here. That's the Active Campaign. 1 North Dearborn. 10 North Dearborn. Here's the Blue Line, the Washington stop. Yeah. So this is not the one ads for Monster.com. I know people ask me for all kinds of things. I'm just a guy walking down the street. There's all this perception that influencers are all independently rich. I'm working paycheck to paycheck. I'm there with the working stiffs there. I know what it's like. If I would lose my job, my live streaming would not be able to support my rent. You know, and we I don't know why there's a perception. I guess a lot of people have media sponsors. I saw the nice woman that gave me a good promotion there. She has a page on TikTok. She has a pretty good following, but she got sponsored. She's smarter than me. She got sponsored to go to Lollapalooza to promote Lollapalooza's brand, and they probably paid her to get in. And she has much less followers than me because of my stupid ideals of anti-consumerist. I won't partner with Lollapalooza because, you know, my ideals are what gets me to be poor. And Darren Monroe would say the same thing. I'm leaving all this money on the table because I could be like, I can make all my reruns like selling you products and trying to influence people. I influence people to think for themselves, do the opposite of what I say, make up your own mind, have your own opinions, don't buy stuff, enjoy stuff that's free, enjoy sunshine in the lake and parks. And there, they got a DJ here, so here we go, here's a tour. There's the Picasso, Daley Plaza. Yeah, look at this. Hey, she's singing here. So here's Daley Plaza. Yeah, they finally put up a guardrail. Yeah, you're right. You're right. You used to be able to climb up on it. That is significant that they did that. They used to be able to climb on the Picasso. They did it because over time Seb slipped down it. Remember that? Steppin'. Yeah. 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 How you doing? Yeah, they're stepping. Step dancing here. There's City Hall. Yeah, they put the fence around. Jay City Walking Girl reported that. Now they got a fence around the Picasso. You're right. I didn't even notice that. Shows you how oblivious I can be. But here, Daley Plaza, they got step dancing. They got a DJ and a live singer there. And here's City Hall. We walked through City Hall last week, so we'll go over to the Thompson Center. We'll show you the construction progress of the Thompson Center, the new Google. People were mentioning this morning how many people are going to be working here. That was your job? Morty, how you doing there? Yeah, it's a good question, Maurice. I don't know that off the top of my head. Maybe someone could research that if you want to. I'm sure if you ask the internet, it might be able to give the answer. But Chicago probably gets a greater share of domestic tourists, domestic tourists, yeah. Domestic tourists, we get both of those. Then like Las Vegas gets more international. New York probably gets more international tourists because a lot of international tourists don't even think about trying Chicago, which is fine, you know. And maybe it's safer. But here's to go to New York. Here's the Thompson Center, Hellman Jan's design, and Google's retrofitting it. You see how they're replacing the glass curtain wall, and they're starting to put it on the front here. And they've already replaced it on LaSalle Street. There's the reflection there. There's 2 layers of glass. You see how there's glass behind there, and then there's glass around the front. So there'll be a vapor barrier in between the glass to probably moderate the temperature and the heat in the summertime and the amount of heat that escapes in the wintertime. There's the First Methodist Church here. Here's City Hall. We're at Clark and Randolph here. And here's the Thompson Center construction here. Clark construction. Here, let's look at the plaza here. Man, it really reflects the sun. You see how much that reflects it like a mirror. Here's where Snoopy and the Blender used to be. I think they're going to put new trees and stuff here, but they're probably waiting until later in the construction progress. Here's the Thompson Center construction progress. The new Google. So yeah, we'll cross the street here. We'll head over to LaSalle. We'll film it from across the street here. Make sure there's no bikes coming here. So here's City Hall. Go down to the Cadillac Palace here. Tigers and the Bears. Yeah, the Bears had a tie yesterday. Did you see that? In their first preseason game there, they had a tie. But they looked okay. You know, they had some offense at least. Yeah, see the store for details. Yeah, I don't know. You can look it up online. I don't know how much Google's investing in it. That's a good question. Many questions that you have, they're good questions. I don't know off the top of my head. I'm not an expert on anything or probably anything, but I'm just a guy walking around the street here on my lunch break here. I work for an architecture engineering firm, so I know enough just to rattle off some general details about Helmignon and when this was built and the former names and what's doing, but I don't know. I'm bad with numbers. Like I said, if I make stock market predictions, do the opposite. Usually I'm wrong. Otherwise, I'd be retired by now. Here's the Cadillac Palace here. We're heading west on Randolph Street. We're at LaSalle. We'll get a really good view to the Board of Trade that we usually do when we cross through here. We'll look down the Skyscraper Canyon that used to be the financial district, the financial heart of Chicago. Historically, it's changed a little bit because of electronic trading. But we still got the Mercantile Exchange. Here's the Board of Trade, the former Commodities Exchange here in Chicago. It has Ceres, the statue to Crane there. And there's the pink line just headed through on the train there. Here's LaSalle. See all the vintage skyscrapers. We'll go by the Cadillac Palace Theater here, which is part of the Allegro Hotel. A lot of these theaters combined with hotels or offices, they're mixed-use buildings. Even the Chicago Theater is mixed with other uses. Broadway, Chicago, Lion King returns here, parade. There's the State of Illinois building. And here's some of the vintage skyscrapers they converted into housing. Every once in a while we see somebody coming out of these buildings that live in these buildings. Look at this vintage skyscraper here on the corner of Wells and Randolph, 188 West Randolph here in the loop of Chicago. And look at the top of it there. But Hotel Allegro, Christopher Dodson stayed here when he was in Chicago. Morty, how you doing there? No, the Tip Top Tap's on Michigan Avenue. Yeah, the Tip Top Tap's another vintage hotel. We went by it this morning on TikTok. So here, you see how you can see the trains here. Here comes the Brown Line. The Brown Line's going north here on. That's the Bread Line. Actually, the Brown Line's heading south on the loop there. It's heading down to the Wells and Madison or Monroe station. What is that? Wells and Madison, Wells and Monroe. Here's yeah, we're heading over towards Wacker Drive. No, Franklin Street first. We'll get to Franklin and then we'll head over to Wacker Drive here. Yeah, the Blues Brothers. Welcome to Chicago. Yeah, yeah, anytime you go into the L tracks, they use Wells Street and the classic police car chase scene in the end of the Blues Brothers there. Tip Top Tap, tap the screen there. Yeah, we're going towards Wacker there. We should get a good view of the Sears Tower here. We're in the loop of Chicago. I'm on my lunch break. I work for an architecture engineering firm, so it's easy for me. We've been doing this. Check out the reruns. We've been doing this for 2 years now. At lunchtime, we go through. Because usually what I do on TikTok, I walk to work and walk home, but then I don't have time to see the Bean because I work just north of the Bean. So we can check out the Bean. Sometimes we go to Buckingham Fountain. We do the Riverwalk. We check out the Sears Tower. Things I don't get to in my normal commute because I walk. I don't have a car. I have lived in Chicago for 26 years without a car, and that's this whole stick here. I'm not the only one. Yeah, I'm sure the food trucks, there were some food trucks on Monroe by the Art Institute. On Fridays, they have the food trucks at Daley Plaza, and I'm sure they're on Wacker. We're about to cross Wacker here, so we'll see if we see any food trucks. But Wacker wraps around the whole loop. It's one of the only streets that goes northwest and east-west in Chicago, because most of the other streets, unless the angled streets, which are very few. But it feels really hot here in the sun. We got 85 degrees. Loop of Chicago, Sushi Shai. There's an empty lot here. You see how they added all these balconies. There's more people living in the loop now than ever. And here's some commercial buildings here. I should have walked on that side underneath the shade. People are sitting there. This is 155 North Wacker. Sterling Bay, they're a local developer here. There's Beatniks. I don't know. The Cubs were on the road. They lost in St. Louis. When did the Cubs come back? I saw the White Sox beat the Guardians. That was at Great Field. But when did the Cubs? Can somebody check the schedule there? Again, I'm wonking. I don't know off the top of my head. It's a good question. I don't want to say the wrong information because people hold me to it. Yeah, come to Chicago, check it out. Summertime's the time to be here. All tuning in from Salzburg. Salzburg is a beautiful city, the sound of music. I would love to do some live streaming in Austria. I know we have a friend online that I've never met in person, but I feel like I know him, Demishi there in the Bavarian Alps. He streams in southern Germany, and he's got some videos where they go to the German-Austrian border there, hiking through those alpine paths, and it's just stunning, amazing. And he also films the towns and the culture, and I'm sure Austria, it's very similar there, the traditional architecture. But here, see, here's the cars. These cars are coming out of Lower Wacker Drive. They're in the center. These are making left turns here. We're at Wacker, and see, there's the Sears Tower here. Here's the Bazaar Meats. Here's the Bazaar Meats Jose Andres. You can sit outside here at the Bazaar Meats, right across from the Boeing building here. And here we got the light here, so we'll head across. And we'll cross the South Branch Chicago River, and then we'll go over to the Riverwalk and head back along there. So we do this a lot. Usually we walk back this way. I'm going in the opposite direction I usually go, just to mix it up here. You can sit downstairs for the breakfast cafe. That's good. Thanks for the good information there. So Moon, please don't treat me like a horse. Don't just like tell me to go here, go there. We have gone by there. I got reruns of the Chicago fire there on Blue Island. I'm on my lunch break. I have a job. And I think you're probably smart enough to know that just because you asked me to go there, I'm not just going to drop everything and run down there just because some random person I've never met before asked me to go somewhere. So thanks for tuning in. Here we're going to cross the South Branch Chicago River. There we're looking towards Wolf Point. There's looking south. Here's the Bank of America building here. Here's the Boeing building. All these corporate headquarters. As I rail about corporate takeover of America. There we go. There's Chicago's First Lady architectural cruise boat. This is why we like walking along the river at lunchtime. There's so many architectural cruise boats, even in, especially in the summertime. And we'll get some good views at the water level there. So where is Lizzie's Irish Bar at? So you assume I know where it's at? Are you talking about Lizzie McNeil's? There's Lizzie McNeil's, which is over by where Darren Monroe lives. That's over by the Centennial Fountain. We might see that towards the end, so I'll just zoom in if you watch to the end. But here's, what time we got? 12:31. Okay, good. Let's check out this plaza on the other side. I never check out this plaza in the back. We always walk by this way. This is what I call the Tuning Fork Building, 150 Riverside, North Riverside. I don't even know if you can get out here. I might get trapped up here, but see how they added all these back balconies? This used to be the Butler Brothers and warehouse. It was a distribution warehouse for their wholesaling company. But, since it's now housing, they added all these balconies, people live here. You see the wind's picking up here. Yeah, I would love to come to Salzburg. Unfortunately, I live in America, and we're not most Americans are not rich enough to travel the world like that. We're not all Donald Trump. And I have all these people that taunt me every day that are just poor like me, that support billionaires because they think they're winning even though the billionaires are winning. So, but thanks for turning in from Salzburg. I would love to take a European grand tour there and visit the Alps, and Austria, such a beautiful country. Thanks for tuning in. Do you know any live streamers in Salzburg? Is there anybody we can watch content that posts historical information about the churches and the musicians that used to live there, you know. No, again, I would love to go to Ireland. I am not that wealthy. I'm pretty poor. I live in America. There's a lot of people in America are not that wealthy, and even though, you know, I live in this beautiful city and I live in a beautiful neighborhood, most of my money goes to housing, and I can't afford a car. So I'm an American that can't afford a car. I literally cannot afford a car. Like, if I had a car, I wouldn't be able to pay my phone bill to live stream, and that's why I take transit and live in this, you know. But, you know, I got a good job. No, that's the funny thing about corporate America. They'll give you a job, but you won't rise to the board of directors. You know, I'm sure I don't deserve to, because I would run the company into the ground. But here's thanks for checking out this plaza here. But hey, if you missed it, we checked out the Bud Billiken Parade there on Saturday. We got reruns, and the Air and Water show's coming up, so I'll be covering that. Here, we'll head down to the Chicago Riverwalk here. We just missed the light. That's okay. Hey, they're taking photos here. We might be able to dash across if we get a gap in the traffic here. Some tea with local Chicago rappers, yeah. Well, okay, so I do have reruns of Keys Impact, Keys Carter. Keys Carter is a Chicago rapper. He's also a live streamer. I got to meet him along with Nia Azel. She's a Chicago-based live streamer as well. But watch Keys Carter. He's huge on TikTok. He's got like almost as many followers as me. He's a Chicago local. We saw Chance the Rapper on Saturday. We saw Chance the Rapper. I'm sure you've heard of Chance the Rapper. Number 3. He always wears the 3 hat. He was one of the dignitaries at the Bud Billiken Parade. I did not get a good view of him on the rerun because he was holding a sign in front of his head because he wanted people to look at what was on the sign instead of him, because he does a lot for local Chicago community, and he gives back to the schools. He donates a lot of money to charity. Chance the Rapper, he's a local Chicago rapper. So yes, I do hang out with Chicago rappers. Thanks for tuning in. Here's the pink line. Here's the pink line heading across here. Chance the Rapper, that's good. Thanks for tuning in there. Nia Azel is also a singer. Nia Azel is also a single. Thanks. See, look at that. There's 3 people right there. And we ran into Nia live streaming on the Riverwalk, and she was so nice to say hello. See, look at this beautiful view here we got on the bluff here. Thanks everybody for tuning in here. Hey, they're taking pictures in front of the College Drive there. That's great. So here, we'll keep going.
Can I say hi?
Yeah, how you doing? I'm on
How's
YouTube.
It going?
Hey,
Yo.
give a shout out here. People are tuning from all over the world.
We're from Valley, Asney, Aspen. Best hedge fund in the world.
Oh, what's the hedge fund?
Valley, Asney, Aspen.
Valley, okay, that's good. We'll give the promo there. That's good. Thanks for saying hello. That's good. Yeah, enjoy summer. That's great. Yeah, see, that's nice there. See, Brian, really Chicago. That's good. So, yeah. Hey, I enjoy living in liberal hell. I'd rather live in liberal hell than conservative hell. So different strokes for different folks. Why is it lost on people that not everybody experiences the world the same as you? Some people like cities. Some people like liberal approach to life. I'm not trying to force it on you. That's politicians doing it to you. Whatever Biden did to you, I did not do that. Whatever Obama did to you, I did not do that. That was other politicians. And whatever Trump's doing to me, you're not doing it to me. Trump's doing it to me, so I'm not taking it personally against you. You know, you might like Trump, but you're probably a pretty decent person. And just because I don't like Donald Trump doesn't mean I don't like you. You got to separate personal stuff from politics. It's hard. I have the same problem. Here's the green line here. Hey, look how close these boats are together. So let's talk about this, since you brought up politics, which is great. It gives me a chance to talk about this. Politicians on all sides. The politicians on the left think of George Soros. Politicians on the right think Donald Trump. They want to divide us. They want to divide us. So I'm just waiting for the sound of the train to go down there. I didn't want to talk over the train there. It never fails when I start to get going on my political points here. The train comes by or somebody talks to me and I lose my train of thought. Okay, so here's where I'm going with this. I'm sure the average Joe six-pack voter that voted for Trump in a red state, I have more in common with them living in Chicago than the average Chicago billionaire hedge fund person like J.B. Pritzker, who runs the government of Illinois. Hear what I'm saying here. I have less in common with J.B. Pritzker than, you know, my relatives that live in West Virginia that voted for Trump, because we're not wealthy. They want to divide the poor people, so we're fighting amongst each other based on race. We're dividing each other based upon culture, the culture wars. They want us fighting amongst each other based upon turning politics into rooting for, like it's rooting for sports. Whereas the poor people on the right and the poor people on the left, if we would collectively pool our power, we could really do some amazing things. But the politicians and the banks and the corporations know that they'd rather play people off, get you and me, people that are at the bottom, fighting amongst each other so they could just collect all the profits, use AI to control us, and divide and conquer. And we need to get over this partisan divide. You know, if there ever was a need for a third party, and I'm not talking about Elon Musk party, I'm talking about a centrist party that most people in America are not on the extreme left and extreme right. That's an illusion created by politicians and politics to drive a wedge between people in the center. And they'll divide us over religion, culture, ethnicity, gender. They'll get us fighting amongst, you know, distractions. And, you know, if we ever go through another economic recession or a downturn, the masses, the majority of people that don't own the wealth, I'm not talking about socialism or communism, I'm talking about just a more balanced system that doesn't make people feel so left out, because I think so many people feel like they're left out, and you want to take it out on me. What did I do to you? I'm just walking down the street. I just live in Chicago. You might not like Chicago. You don't have to come here. I'm just showing you what to avoid. You know, why are you watching? That's the question, the eternal question. But here, thanks for tuning in here. We'll head along the Riverwalk. Thanks to everybody else. Thanks to my mods. These are my opinions. I don't expect anybody to agree with them. You got your own. Thanks for expressing your opinions. Thanks for not making it personal. We're all doing the best we can. And what do you think? You're going to change Chicago? We're not trying to change you. At least I'm not. Maybe some politicians trying to change you. Maybe some preachers trying to change you. Maybe somebody selling you a commercial on TV is trying to change you and getting you to buy their product, you know. That's why people are confused. They're like, what am I selling? I don't even know what I'm selling. I'm selling myself here, selling my soul. Here's the merchandise mart. So here, welcome to Chicago Riverwalk here. Welcome to Chicago. We got 86 degrees here on a Monday. We got 12:41 in the afternoon. I'm just taking my lazy summertime stroll through the loop and the Riverwalk here. Yeah, the architecture, that's what we do. Chicago's the real star. Excuse me, the architecture's the real star here. And the people. Cities are made up of people. We saw people at the Bud Billiken Parade. We saw people at the Venetian Night. We were here a few weeks ago. We're going to see people at the Air and Water Show. We saw people at Lollapalooza. You know, there's people just eating here at the Brews and Bites. We saw people fishing here last week. There was a fishing club. Look at these beautiful flowers here growing on top of the river. They're going to have a swim in the Chicago River. They're going to actually, and it was really hard for them to get the permit. They tried to do it last year. They wouldn't allow them to do it. I don't know if I would swim in the river, but other people are willing to try it. And people do fish in this river. It's less polluted than it used to be. It doesn't mean it's free of pollution. I don't think any river in the United States is completely free of pollution. No, this is Chicago. Thanks for tuning in here. Does Dallas have a river like this? I know Dallas has a big wash of a river. I think what river goes through there? Trinity River. Here's the Evening Star. Here's the Evening Star riverboat cruise ship coming through. underneath the Wells Street Bridge here. There's Franklin Street. Here comes a pontoon boat. There's where we came from, Salesforce Tower, the confluence. Where's Pizza Lisa at? She was on this morning. There she is, right there, right on cue. Pizza Lisa, how you doing there? Thanks for tuning in there. It's essentially a retail market. Yeah, thanks, the Merchandise Mart. So someone was asking a question about the Merchandise Mart. Lisa, thanks for the good answer. You were helping me out this morning, the same thing. So my smart friends and followers and moderators that know the answer, and I miss some questions sometimes. So thanks everybody. If you know the answer, if someone asked a question and I missed it and you know the answer, feel free to chime in. It doesn't bother me. I know it bothered Sarah sometimes. She felt like, you know, if somebody gave the wrong answer, but Lisa's pretty smart. She works for the universities there. So here's Miss Jennifer, Sweet Caroline. We're going by the, there's some public restrooms there. There, the fountain. Look, you can run through the fountain. This is a nice splash garden here. Every once in a while you see people running through the water there. Asparagus. I don't like asparagus, but asparagus is good for you. Green leafy vegetable. Here comes some kayakers. The kayakers heading across. There's the brown line heading across the Wells Street Bridge there. But hey, 86 degrees in Chicago. A nice summer day here. Yeah, I think starting Thursday or Friday, the Air and Water Show, we'll start practicing. We'll start to. I already reached out to Jeremy and our friend You Should Eat there and see if they're what they're doing. We might run into them. Jeremy's a pilot, so he's a great person to be standing next to when those planes are flying, because he knows all the history of the planes and where they fly from and how they handle and stats, and it's just a wealth of knowledge because he's a pilot. Flies private jets here, urban kayaks here. Rent the kayak here. Let's head along with these kayakers here. So now we're underneath LaSalle Street here, Riverwalk in Chicago. So the sound was the train. It was the L train going across the elevated CTA train going across the Wells Street Bridge. It makes a bunch of noise because these are bascule bridges. They're drawbridges, and that's a double-decked drawbridge that goes across the Chicago River, and they can lift that. They have to stop the trains because the tracks are on the top. But here, look at nice kayakers here. We'll head along the wall here. People come out here, have their lunch, sit on the wall. This is where the Eastland disaster happened. You can look that up. Don't tell me the leaves are already falling. It's August, and they're turning yellow, and the leaves are already falling. There's the kayakers. Yeah, take some photos there. Here's the Tanica building here. Yeah, I'm an urban planner. Thanks, Pizza Lisa. Yeah, I work for an architecture engineering firm. Thanks, Lisa, for helping out there. I'm on deep there. Junior. Rumble the train. Do I work for NASA? I wish I worked for NASA. I work for SpaceX. You mean SpaceX? They're going to contract everything out. Do you work for NASA? Maybe you're a rocket scientist. Maybe Jeremy works for NASA. You might know some. He might be an astronaut. Here's the sky view. No, NASA doesn't have a presence in Chicago. NASA is in Florida. They used to have a presence in Houston. I guess that's where Houston, we have a problem. The Space Center there in Houston. There's a museum there. NASA has a presence in Huntsville, Alabama. That's where they built some of the rockets and things. I've been, there's a museum there. And is that still there in Huntsville, Alabama, NASA? Anybody tuning in from down that way? Yeah, I'm just looking around the city. This is my lunch break. I enjoy, I've lived in Chicago for 26 years. I don't have a car. Long before the age of live streaming, I pretty much have not changed my lifestyle hardly at all to accommodate live streaming. I know it's hard for people to understand that. The same walk I take to work morning and night, I've been doing that. If I wasn't live streaming, I would still probably walk to work or take a bike or take a train or, you know, take a bus if it rains. I would walk. I would eat lunch more at lunchtime before live streaming, but it would only take me like 20 minutes to eat a lunch. So then I would just walk around. I get an hour for lunch, and I didn't want to stick around the office, eat at my desk. So I'm an urban planner. I like feeling the vibe of the city. I like seeing if there's new development, or like we go by the Thompson Center. I just check out construction. There's always something going on in the loop. walk by the Riverwalk, walk by the lake. I'm fortunate my office is by a lot of tourist areas, things like, the Bean, the Riverwalk, Navy Pier, things that people that aren't from Chicago are interested in seeing. And so people tune in to watch this, and it's an easy way for me to get content. We run into people. Sometimes people say hello. Just be friends and neighbors, feel like I'm part of a community here, even though we live in a big, bad city of millions of people here. It's a big, overgrown town, and it feels that way sometimes. It's our kind of town. Chicago is. Here comes the city view here, taking pictures here. See, they're cleaning the stainless steel here, keeping it all looking nice here. Yeah, and I enjoy, most people positively engage in this comment. Yes, we get a few people that, every day we get somebody that bashes us or bashes me or bashes the city. I understand not everybody likes Chicago. We get it. I'm not forcing you to live here, come here, spend any tourism dollars here. You can just watch for free. See what you're not missing, the city's not for everybody. But some people love it. Here's city view, shoreline sightseeing. It's just a unique city. It's different than other cities. Isn't that great that not everything's the same? We're not like New York. We're different than New York. We don't want to be New York. We never have. New York certainly doesn't want to be us. And LA, completely different vibe. No one walks in LA. Even though they have amazing weather. Here's look at the large barge. Here's the Marina Towers. Look at this architecture, Bertrand Goldberg. This goes back to 1968. And here, see people just sitting having their lunch here. City winery. Sometimes boats pull up here. Look how it's turning on the thrusters there. But we film Lollapalooza. We film parades. We film air and water shows. We film the lake. Crazy weather. When they lift the bridges for the sailboats, we do that. You can watch reruns of any of this stuff. I posted reruns. On TikTok, I cut out the footage. When I went to Louis Armstrong's house on Saturday there on 44th Street on the south side, the people next door that were grilling out at their sister's house, they talked to us for about 5 minutes. And I put that to TikTok. You can see it on YouTube, but I cut it out. And it was such a great conversation because they told an anecdote about their relatives that went inside Louis Armstrong's house and saw the piano there, and they were like, then they realized they were in the wrong house because they were supposed to be next door. And so they it was the great, I really enjoyed that, talking with them. And they told me they were going to give me some food. They were like, come grill out with us. I said, I appreciate it. Hey, friends and neighbors there, even in Bronzeville. Here's the State Street Bridge. Chicago. Yeah, Bobby. Let it go for now, Michael. Some people, they're trying to reclaim Chirac, from keeping it from a pejorative. You never know how people are using it. I know it used to freak me out because when people were giving me death threats and saying that they were stalking me and gonna, murder me in the street when I was live streaming, I didn't take kindly when people would make Chirac comments. But thankfully, that is kind of toned down. So if someone wants to say Chirac, Spike Lee made money off of using that in his movie. Chirac, it comes from, it started when the Iraq War was still going on. More people were dying in Chicago than the Iraq War because of the gun violence, and it was meant to be a political protest against the Bush administration for spending resources on a foreign war instead of on our own cities here in the United States. And investing in the South and West Side, they would rather invest in nation building in Iraq and overseas because, and that's very, much. I hope we don't get dragged into Russia or Israeli Palestinian wars too, or Ukraine. We're already in the Ukraine-Russia war, and we know what's going on Friday. And I'll stay away from that for now, because I'm sure we'll have to address it on Friday. Here's the State Street Bridge here. Here's the Chicago River here. We're walking along the Chicago Riverwalk here. And we're heading through, here comes the Fred A. Bussey here. Here it comes. We'll have a nice view to the Wrigley building. We'll also see the Trump Tower. I'll show the Trump Tower here, the second tallest building in Chicago. And we'll get the Fred A. Bussey retired fireboat. They use it now as a tourist boat for riverboat tours through the Chicago River, and you can ride a historic Chicago fireboat, the Fred A. Bussey, and they can still use some of the hoses a little bit. We saw them doing that for the Venetian night. Here's the Trump Tower in Chicago, 1,200 feet tall. It used to be the Chicago Sun-Times there. And there's the old IBM building. You see the Marina Towers there. There's the Fred A. Bussey. How you doing? There it is. Looking nice. Yeah, our kind of town. Yeah, we got a nice eating area here all along the river. See, we got kayakers. We went by the Vietnam War Memorial there. And here's O'Brien's. You can go to O'Brien's here and eat outside. Yeah, Jay-Z and Beyonce, Wolf of Wall Street. This is Chicago. This is not New York. This is Chicago. So all those Jay-Z's associated with New York City. The J and Z line, they're actually on the New York train system there. They go by the Marcy Projects in Brooklyn. I've been by the Marcy Projects in Brooklyn where Jay-Z grew up. That was in Brooklyn. But here we're in Chicago. We're by the Wrigley building in the Tribune Tower here. We'll go by the marketplace. There's a water taxi heading by. See, look at the marketplace here. So yeah, how you doing? Is this Cloris Mexicanos? Yeah, it's good. Good. I'm glad you still have a presence here. That's good. That's good. Yeah. So this Cloris Mexicanos is here on the Riverwalk. So you know Cloris Mexicanos that by La Katrina, they're back at the marketplace. So see right here. So this is where they're at. They were here before. They got Cloris Mexicanos. The Mexican gift shop is here on the Riverwalk here. So instead of being on Michigan Avenue, you can find them here next to Shy. Here's the Summer of George. Here's the Summer of George. We've been lucking out. Almost every single day we see the Summer of George goes by, and that makes me happy. Reminds me of Seinfeld, George Costanza, the Summer of George there. Hey, see, we've been keeping pace with the kayakers. The kayakers are heading back towards Urban Kayaks there. So hey, 12:55. Thanks for coming along for our little lunch walk. Thanks Lisa and Michael and Anita, everybody. Thanks for being on here. Hope you're having a good Monday here, Shy Boys Cafe. So if you watch my channel, we will show you where the train stations are when we encounter them. We went by many train stations earlier in this live. You can rewind this. This is YouTube, so you can rewind this. We went underneath the L tracks through the loop in Chicago. We saw the trains go by. If you watch my reruns both on YouTube and TikTok, you can search for keywords: train stations, train, CTA. I have hundreds of videos where we ride all the colors. I was on the red line at 55th Street, the south side, heading towards 95th on Saturday. We ride all the train lines, all areas of the city. I got reruns of them. Please check them out. I'm glad you're interested in the train station there. That's great. Here's Wrigley building, Tribune Tower, both on TikTok and YouTube. I have over 300 videos on the south and west side of Chicago. Oh, I got over 400 if you include the 100 I have on YouTube. Which means I've gone to the south and west sides of Chicago 400 times over the last 200 years. Or last 2 years. And people still say I don't go to the south and west side. I'm out of breath, I'm out of shape. But here's the, it's because I'm talking, trying to go upstairs. That's why I get winded. Hey, here's the Wrigley. It's hot too. It's really humid today. Here's the Wrigley Tribune. There's the Intercontinental Hotel in the middle of Michigan Avenue. You catch the water taxi, the Wendella tour boats here. There's the London House. You can go to that rooftop there. Catch the big bus. You can catch the big bus right over there. So here we'll cross Wacker Drive, and we'll head back down Michigan Avenue here. Yeah, 200 years. I've I've been streaming for 200 years. You caught me. See, if you talk as much as I talk, you're gonna make flubs. I make as many gaffes as Joe Biden. but thanks for cutting me some slack there. Here's stood old Fort Dearborn, 1803 to 1812. The Potawatomi destroyed it. London House here, Smashburger. See Fannie Mae, the Blackhawk store, 333 North Michigan, that Art Deco there. Right through here. The best pizza. I forgot. I knew what the best pizza was, but I forgot. So many people asked me about it that I forgot what it was. But maybe you'll figure it out. Try them all. See which one you like. Here's the back of the London House. Hey, here's Benny the Bull. Hey, he's got a picture of Benny the Bull there. Yeah. Benny the Bull. Yeah, that's pretty nice. There you go to Egg Tug. See, Crimson Cow or Nashville Hot Chicken. It's open now. I got the Egg Tug, Michigan Avenue. We're south of Wacker, north of Water. Boxing lessons. Souvenir. So we'll be on TikTok after 5 tonight. Thanks for coming along for this little tour through the Loop of Chicago on a Monday. We saw the Bean. If you rewind it, we actually went by the real Bean. We saw they were practicing for Broadway in Chicago there on the Pritzker Band Show. So you can rewind if you missed that and check it out if you want. And here, we'll end the live this way. We'll walk underneath. See, here we are on Michigan Avenue. We're just south of the Chicago River. There's the Wrigley Building and the Tribune looking all the way up to the John Hancock. I've shown this thousands of times, or hundreds of times. We walk underneath here. Hey, there's a siren down here. So there was a police car, I guess. So this is the lower level of Michigan. That heads over to Wacker. And here, we'll cross the street here. If you ever seen the Blues Brothers, yeah, they use this for the car chase scenes. They also use this in the Batman movies, Transformers, The Untouchables, the lower levels of Chicago here. And it's because they raised the streets as part of the Burnham Plan. And there was causeways to get over railroad tracks, and over the river there's double-deck bridges over the river. And some of this area is 3 levels. Oops, but where's that car? You can get to Millennium Station this way, and then you can pop out on the other side of the street. There's a lot of loading docks and things down here, the lower levels of Michigan, Wacker, and you go across the river. There's a few streets over there that haven't. Well, that's where Billy Goat's Tavern is. So we'll head back up to Michigan, and we'll end this live. So hey, thanks everybody for tuning in. We'll be on TikTok, same Brian Really Chicago there, and then we'll do the Air and Water show this weekend. Echo, yeah, you got a lot of echoes down there. So hey, have a great day everybody. We'll see you soon. Enjoy the rest of your Monday. We'll see you after 5 on TikTok. Thanks a lot. 200 people tuning in. You guys are great. We got more and more people tuning on YouTube. So thanks everybody. Thanks my mods for adding to the success. We couldn't do it without you. There's the Wrigley Building. We'll see you soon. Have a great day, Christy, Bella, D. Michael, all the Michaels, all the mods. We'll see you later there. Have a great day. Thanks a lot. All right, bye.